Hi everybody, welcome to Ctrl on Compete. Today we're joined by Gavin Ferry from the Newcastle United Foundation. Gavin, pleased to meet you.
And likewise.
We were just talking literally 30 seconds ago about all the great footballers that used to play for Newcastle, right? Has football always been your sport then? Obviously can't help it, can you?
Yeah, I think in the North East it's something what's sort of ingrained in you. If you look back, probably when I was at school, probably one of the ones who were last picked on the PE side. But if you set all them people, who would be the guy who's now working at a football club, and I'll be last in the picking list for that one. But it's nice to be there doing the job I get to do.
And you think about it as well. I wonder if it's like sometimes there's some cities have got just the one team. I know there's like Sunderland that are there as well, right? But Newcastle always seems to be like that. To me, like everybody in the city like adores Newcastle. Would that be the way you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think the geographical area that we've got, especially within my role in the community side, we go from the Scottish borders and Berwick all the way down to Durham and out as well. So we are a one city club. It's very rare, so that comes with highs and the lows. Proper roller coaster being a Newcastle fan. But when we win, you can tell there'll be a good mood in the city. When we don't win, it might not be so good.
Yeah, our producer of the show, he's a big Newcastle fan, and I remember when you said the cup final, when you actually looked at that stadium and just how much it actually meant to the fans. Yeah, you can just tell, right?
I think for those lucky enough, to get the cup final, I went to the cup final. It was an amazing day. Probably for those people who aren't with us anymore, who didn't get the chance to see that, a really emotional day. But 7 years is a long time to wait without a trophy. But then it was probably the aftermath when we had the trophy parade in and around the city. To see so many people just watching some players on an open top bus really brings everyone out to the fore. So really nice to see. Hopefully that's the start of some
well, you need
success.
that, right? Success breeds success as well. So hopefully you do get some more of it. Okay, we'll go back. I know we're speaking of football off, but tell me a little bit about your role with the Newcastle United Foundation. Tell me a little bit about the foundation and what you do, Gavin.
Yeah, so my role at the foundation is I'm the senior manager for learning skills. So I look after our primary-based learning programme into secondary, and then for
primary schools.
We've got a Primary Stars programme, which really is a Premier League funded programme.
And what do you do at that level?
So that level is very much PE-based or classroom interventions, looking to inspire and motivate young people with a different approach to learning. So our guys will go in there with Newcastle United tracksuits on. It'll be Gav coming in. It'll not be Mr. Ferry in a shirt and tie. So a lot more engaging. The barriers are broken down. The badge is the hook for all involvement that we do. So whether that be at primary school or as we move into secondary school, and the reason why I'm here today for the esports conference, our esports room, what we've got now in our BTEC, which is affiliated to that. So the badge is the hook. We can get a lot of people in through that, but we're opening a lot of new doors and avenues for the non-traditional supporters of Newcastle to get involved in our activities.
And so when you think about it, obviously you'll have primary schools, secondary schools, and they have their curriculum. Where do you feel like the foundation really? How do you pick your schools? Like what gap do you fill for traditional education?
Yeah, so I think probably post-COVID, we're in a very transitional stage, especially in society and in education. There's a lot more barriers to learning that there ever has been before, and that's where we fill that gap. A lot of schools haven't got the teachers with the skill sets, maybe in PE or in STEM, that we can fill. We've got expert staff that can come into schools and engage pupils in a different way. Luckily, with the funding streams we get, we can explore different options and add to the curriculum. We're not taking anything away from it, we're complementing it and hopefully making the learner's experience in school better. Whether that be through classroom sessions or whether that be PE and practical, more things like that, which are what more traditionally you would think of Newcastle United, but it's very different and broad, the scope that we
do you find then, is there a gap in the workforce for teachers then? Do you think they're struggling to find teachers? Is that one of the issues?
I think the teaching profession's changed a lot over the years. I personally think the education system is very dated. We're probably looking at, when we look back to when we were at school, the kids are now still doing the same things.
But we were just talking off camera about 10 minutes ago about, I think I just missed getting the bell. I think corporate punishment stopped 1980. I don't know if that's right or not, I should have checked, but I think, so then it's all changed really.
Complete difference, but in terms of the content, it's very similar. So you're expecting a lot of young people who have got a lot more additional needs, barriers to learning, like their confidence and self-esteem, big challenges. Just getting to school for some people is a hard thing to do. So the skill set of a teacher now isn't just an educator. I would say it's a mentor, it's a counsellor, it's someone who can provide food if they haven't had a breakfast in the morning. The role of the teacher is expanding, but with that becomes more pressure on that side of things as well. There's a skill gap in terms of PE. Some teachers will spend not much time on their PGCE looking at that area, so that's something that we can do with our teacher CPD programme. But again, as we move into STEM and different areas as well, schools, one, haven't got the budget to do it, or two, the specialists, and that's where we can come in, as I say, complement their curriculum.
And when you say again about kids with more additional needs, do you think it's a case of it's always been like that, but we're just more aware now?
Yeah, I think as
Do you know
society,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put Gavin. How did this happen, Gavin? But I think, do you think that's because maybe even more so now it's getting noticed a lot more? Maybe dyslexia, things like that, ADHD coming, quite prominent. That maybe beforehand we were maybe just bad kids. I mean, I remember I stayed next to a school for boys, and it was actually the kids were put as bad kids. But when I look back to it, they're probably just kids with ADHD, dyslexia. They weren't bad kids at all, but they just weren't fitting into curriculum. So the parents would put them away to these schools,
I think there's been a lot more research into these things. The diagnoses are coming thick and fast. You can't pigeonhole people as being a naughty kid, or pigeonhole they've got ADHD or what autism or whatever else. They're still there to learn, and they're still there to find the right pathway for them. Run their own race effectively. You want someone to be able to fit in a classroom and differentiate the learning to suit them. Sadly, if you've got a class of 30 learners, that isn't always possible. So we would often take smaller groups of learners away, which we can work in a targeted intervention rather than dealing with a full class.
And what's quite interesting, I won't go off topic too much, but I seen an article yesterday talking about the owner of ChatGPT said if they had, maybe he's just at it trying to get more data centres, if they think that they could cure cancer in the future with AI, but they're also saying one of the benefits they believe that in the future with AI, each kid and each person on planet Earth will get their own individual learning. So actually the future of education will be very
I think AI is really exciting. Like I turned 40 this year. I'm a bit of a dinosaur in modern terms of stuff like
45,
that. So yeah, it's exciting. It's there to be utilised. I think it's also got its negatives as well.
What negatives have you found?
I think for me, one, I watched a Great Education Yorkshire on Channel 4, and it was a whole episode focused on AI, and it was a young girl was doing an English paper, and the teachers were adamant she'd used the ChatGPT to write a test paper. Now, if young people can access that, that removes that step of learning. You just type it in, you get an answer, fill it in as your homework. When you come to apply that in a test setting, that's when you'll see that they'll not be able to do it. So as much as it's got its benefits, I think it'll provide a lot of forthcoming barriers and challenges in many ways for teachers
because
to face with that.
My wife, she's went back into education, and I think for her, what she's found very helpful was, explain this in a different way. So I think very much talking about, I think it's the Harvard referencing. I think there's a lot of ways used to do things in the past. So I think for her, I think it's good that, okay, she's got this question, it's maybe not making sense, maybe, break this down to me, and then bringing it down. So I think that's what's quite good about it. But yeah, once again, you can't just be doing the ChatGPT because you're just copying and pasting, you're not learning, right? And I think 100%. Pat said to her, part of learning is the struggle. That's how you learn.
Yeah, it's not a one straight run of a race. It's you've got bumps in the road, you've got challenges, and that is learning. You've got to make mistakes or you'll not learn from them. So I think as a society, we're always looking for the easy way now, what we can get from A to Z as quick as possible. But it's not linear.
But nothing with value is
off track to get
anything too easy has not got the value for it. So then talk about I think, Gavin, the esports side of it. And I think, once again, when I, with my role, within esports, I've heard a lot of people talk about esports suites, and the Newcastle United one was always one. So we use one of the very first adopters, do you think?
So yeah, there's a lot of football clubs who have similar esports provision. We're very lucky that we've got our own dedicated centre, 5 minutes walk from St James's Park, which has got our dedicated esports suite. We're into our third year now at the building. It's probably one of the most popular rooms within there, as you could imagine, and that fully transcends across all our programmes, so it's accessible to anyone. It doesn't matter what starting point or what programme you're on within our organisation, you can access that room. We run our esports BTEC there in partnership with Newcastle College, so we've got regular learners coming through the doors, and again, they haven't had facilities like that. Just as we mentioned with school and education, colleges face the same challenges in terms of budget constraints and different things. We're very fortunate that our students have a lovely room that they can call their own, what they can access to do their work on, but also compete in the likes of the British Esports Championships and access the games platforms that we've got there.
And so how many clubs do you see coming to visit you, like to have a look then?
Yeah, so we've had a fair few. I'm not going to lie, it's becoming more and more
You're just
common.
like that now? Well, that's the room there, guys.
Yeah, there you very much an open door policy. I had a colleague come up from Brighton this week, so it was nice to see him and showcase what we've got in Newcastle. If we could be a reference point for someone who's starting new, it's always good. I think we've had a few years now as part of the process. There's been ups and downs and kinks in the road, but where we've got a product and we've got a service what's really good, what our participants really, really benefit from, and if we're in the position to offer advice or guidance to other clubs, that's what we're there for.
And so do you feel like, who have you had to look at? So for example, how did that come around? How did that happen? Like, do you know how tell me the journey of how that even happened in Newcastle.
So
esports.
Yeah, so the premise of our esports room, it started with an empty classroom, effectively. We had a classroom space at our Newcastle Centre which we could utilise for something. It was brought to the table, have we considered esports? It was something that my senior management staff and other people at the club looked at and goes, well, actually, what can we do with this sort of gap in the market for us? Something completely new. We looked to partner, as I said, with Newcastle College on this. We looked to explore what was out there in terms of getting the right systems and platforms in place. That then, as I'll go into more detail tomorrow at the conference, will give us a room which is fully equipped with 17 high-spec gaming consoles, which is branded accordingly and is a nice environment for both learning and enjoyment in terms of that esports space.
And what would you say that, do you think it's attracted some kids that might not have been into football, for example, that
100% opened up a completely different audience. If you think of after school clubs now, we offer esports after school clubs, where maybe in the past it would be a traditional sporting club. Not everyone wants to do a sporting club or can access a sporting club. We look to remove those barriers, and by having free access clubs during the week, we've got a lot of our local residents coming and taking part in them across the age bands. Again, same with British esports, something what we probably would never considered doing before and competing. We had a winning team in the Rocket League last year, which is great, great sense of achievement for them, but it's not traditional sports. So it's just opening a different door for us and bringing a different type of participant in the organisation.
And would you say that kids would have came along that potentially, I know that when you're in Newcastle, you're like stamped a baby born Newcastle. Do you think there's any kids that have maybe been enjoyed the game and maybe taken more of a keen interest and maybe even trying to get tickets for St James? Have you seen that kind of transition?
I think it's one of them where football's got a universal appeal, but as I said earlier, we're very conscious that not everyone's going to be a football fan. Where we are based in our NE4 postcode area is probably one of the most deprived areas in the country. So they're probably people who wouldn't necessarily access a football match because they couldn't afford to do so. They can access engagement with us. So there's a foot in, and it gives them an opportunity to experience something different. In terms of the participants, what we have on the programme, especially after school clubs, very diverse ethnic backgrounds. We're seeing people who would also engage in our school programmes as well, so there's layers to their engagement. If you think of us being a nucleus of what we're doing, there's so many offshots of different programmes they can access, which they're kind of linked to the club itself.
Because you think about it as well, I mean, I've got a little girl and she does cheerleading and it costs so much money for the new shoes, for the outfit. I mean, you think about like for football for kids as well. I mean, tops now are what, £70 for the adults for the tops? You know, so if you've not got them in a sense, it can make kids feel like if they've not got the money, they're getting, you know, they're not part of the, you know, they've not got the gear, right? But I think with gaming in a sense, they don't really have to worry about that, do they?
No, it's pretty much turn up and play. We provide the facilities, we've got the games preloaded on the computer systems.
And they're not going to feel out no matter what they turn in because the kids don't care once they're engaged and playing, right? And
it's one of them where esports can be very much a solo participation, or
Yeah.
it could be team.
Yep.
So you can be competing against someone next year or at the other side of the room, or you might just put your headset on, play a one-player game as well. So again, it's opening that door to people who may not be as confident or as social, but they can still be around people. And just again, it opens the different avenues for them.
And have you seen that transition of people that maybe not as confident and as social? Have you seen the journey that they came through?
Yeah, I think for all participants are on their own journey. I think it would be universally wrong if I said everyone goes from starting point and does the same journey. Everyone does something completely different, has a different starting point and a different end point with us. But I think coming in and being able to access them things without having any worry of additional payment or, like you said, they're just not fitting in because you haven't got the latest kit or equipment, then barriers aren't there. So to come in and maybe they might start where it might be that they don't really engage. They come in, they put a headset on, they play and they leave, to actually making a friend or talking with our staff, and the confidence then builds and they can apply that to other areas of
And have you had any feedback from parents that have said about the difference between the programme?
Yeah, so we get a lot of youth voice and parental feedback. The programmes have been very well received at Newcastle, especially the esports after school clubs. Like I said, a lot of the participants that we have may be from ESOL-based families, so there might be language barriers there on that behalf, but again, it's universal appeal that they would keep coming back.
Yep.
If they didn't like it, they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
The room's always full, the clubs are always well attended. I think that speaks volumes for itself.
Yeah. And do you ever wish that you hadn't started this? Do you feel like it's taking you everywhere? We've invited you up here today, people at your door. Did you ever see that it would start to snowball like this?
I think it's opportunity. I think that's what we want to be, a massive advocate for our region and what we've got, and that's something what we want to do for our participants as well. Whether it be like AI, which you mentioned earlier, whether it be the different levels of tech, which is in and around the region, whether it be film studios open up in Sunderland, there's all sorts going on. We want to try and make...
Because British esports have got their home now there as well,
Yeah, we want to make British esports based up in Sunderland as well. So we want to open the people's eyes to what's out there. I think we can take people so far, and then they've got to then explore what their next steps are. But if we can make them more aware of different opportunities that they may face in the future, that we've done our job. We've probably could have 30 computers.
Just going to, you took the question out of my mouth, so I was going to say, so do you think then there's a business case for you to talk about expanding then?
It's one of them where it all depends on funding. I think for us, there would be a big change for us in terms of our building, as where you would then reallocate a room, because the facility is pretty much in a place now where every room is utilised for different means, whether that be classroom space, youth engagement, after school clubs or sporting clubs, or even classrooms. The esports room is got 17 computers, as I said. Would we love 30, 50? Probably. Have we got the funding at the minute to do that? No. And that's what always the challenge is with the charitable sector as well.
And so then I was going to ask as well, do you feel like as esports is always changing, the games are always changing, do the kids help lead the direction of where you're going with stuff?
Yeah, so as I just said before about youth voice, I think it's really important to ask the young people what they want. The games, what we've got loaded onto the computers, are the ones that are probably the most common and most popular. With that, if there's something new comes up, we ask, well, what sort of things do you want? But we've also got to be very conscious with ages and parental guidance limits, the age of the clubs. The games get toggled to be appropriate. But then also, if we're switching to our British esports, they're a bit older, they can do different games. So we're very conscious of the ever-changing face of esports and competing. We've just got to try our best to keep up with it and make sure we're offering a product and a service what young people want to access. They're not coming in, so that game's 2 years old, I want the latest one.
Yeah, I know, I was on here. So I was going to ask as well, what the demographics of the kids that you get, what's the like boys and girls? I mean, how many girls or boys is it you get?
Yeah, so we have focused on having girls-only clubs, which have been a great success.
Okay. Do you think that helps their confidence?
It does, but then numbers also fluctuate. I think, as you mentioned, with your own daughter, I've got 2 daughters as well. Young people in general like to try different things. So if we have a cricket club, for example, and it's on at the same time, they might want to go to the cricket club instead, and that's what we've got to look at and schedule things so that they can attend as many things as possible.
Do people still like cricket?
Very seasonal as well. If you imagine when it gets comes to winter,
Yeah.
young people don't want to be outside, so our clubs are really popular when it comes to the winter months.
So that's good as well then. So it's not just saying, and how much do you actually actively try and push the other traditional ones? Is it on offer? Do they know it's part of the programme? Do you think it's helped with uptake in other sports?
Yeah, so all our clubs and different programmes are free to sign up on the website. Parents can access them and kids can pretty much pick and choose what they want to do. We've currently got 4 clubs running esports related at the minute per week, which provides enough opportunity for different age brackets to come. Boys and girls more traditionally it's boys we see attending, but as I said, we have run girls only clubs in the past and have female participants engaged in the programme.
And so what I was going to ask you as well, Gavin, then, where could you see it going then? I mean, obviously, are you bound by what's happened in the BTEC? I mean, are you allowed to adjust things yourself, or?
So we, obviously, as mentioned, we work with Newcastle College on the BTEC. We deliver set units on that. In terms of what's next with that, it's a big question mark. I think no one knows the answer in terms of what's next for esports in our sort of digital provision. We would like to maintain and grow what we're doing. We've seen some great results with our BTEC participants in particular. A lot of them have joined us as members of staff. A lot of people have went on to do other things, whether employment or further higher education. So it is a real platform for growth and development and helping point people in a different direction to get them to reach their goals and their sort of destinations they want to reach. But I think it's a massive question mark over what's next. I think it changed so quickly. Opportunities pop up where you might not have been anticipating. So I think we're just very open to being at the point where we've got something what we know works. As we mentioned, people want to use us as a reference point, which is great, but also that we can be in an opportunity where we can potentially grow and develop is also there as well.
And so with the student champs then, how many times a year do you get to compete being part of the student champs?
So in terms of our British esports teams, we'll have several teams compete throughout the year. Jake, who runs our room, looks after that. He used to represent Newcastle United FIFA, so he's a great role model and example of someone who's actually been in that world. So the young people get to access the games they want. Again, that can be remote, but generally it's opening our doors and getting them there to practice at Newcastle. We were lucky enough last year, as I said, to have a Rocket League champion, so they got all the way to the final in Nottingham and won, which is something, again, we were just talking before there about Newcastle ending their trophy drought after 70 years.
So just dominating across everywhere.
To see one of our teams win a trophy, it's a massive achievement for them, young people, which again, some of them, if you went back to the start of their journey, may not have engaged, spoke, made eye contact, didn't want to talk to anyone, yet they're up on a stage.
That confidence now.
And they've won, and they've always got that.
And so I think is it Rob down at Sheffield? Is it Sheffield Wednesday? Yes. He does quite a lot. So is there any way that you could start to do even tournaments between the clubs?
Yeah, so when you said what's next, I think that's what the next sort of thing what we're looking at.
Because I heard on the grapevine that potentially there was like a championship one coming or something like that. Maybe
I said, loads of different clubs. I know Sheff Wed have got esports at Hillsborough in the stadium. Sheffield United do different bits. Loads of clubs are doing it on varied scale. It's just in terms of linking them up, which is the hardest thing to do. I think everyone have got their own challenges of whether it be schedules and things they're doing might not always align. We have competed and had games against other clubs, unofficial friendlies, which is nice to see. So I think that's then a sort of next step of laying that up.
Because I think that's where esports helps, because I think with the E-Premier League, obviously the clubs in the top flight in England, I don't know if I'm wrong to say they probably don't need the money, right? They probably don't need it, but I think when you see esports at the other clubs, they can really get the benefit, the community side of it, and more engagement with the clubs. I think that's the clubs that need it the most. Would you agree?
I think we've seen a lot of the people who've come up maybe from lower leagues as well. It's up and down the league ladder where people are accessing and getting involved in this. We can only vouch for what we've done and say that's a great platform to open the door to a new type of participant, but it's also the right people you need to do it. It can't be anyone. Our esports coordinator, Keith, is a great deliverer. He can inspire, he can motivate, but if you asked him questions about games and computing, he probably isn't him. He's more traditional football. We've got other delivery member of staff, Craig, who's probably the flip side. He's got that knowledge base as well, so it's a nice compliment for our young people that they've got both sides.
And where do you sit?
I said, slightly outside of both of them. I don't deliver on the programme, I oversee what they do. Again, this is a completely new world for me.
What was your
Old school
background
Nintendo and SNES,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
definitely.
that's my gaming, which I'll touch on tomorrow and touch on a bit of nostalgia. As a dad of 2 young girls, that's like the next step of my gaming journey. My gaming journey probably stopped for a long time
Yeah.
until I've had kids who are now actually, can we get
Play
a Switch
Roblox.
and can we play different things? So yeah, at the minute, coming to do some of this like is really out of my comfort zone, and that's why I wanted to come and speak to you guys today and be at the event tomorrow, because it's a bit of a showcase to any club to say you might not be from that world of esports and STEM or digital, but you can still bring a lot to it.
Well, because obviously maybe when I first met you and I knew about you, I knew what you were doing, that's why I thought it was really important for you to come here, because I know there's a lot of clubs in Scotland that are looking at it and they don't know where to start, they don't know the benefits, and they hear about it and they're maybe not getting the right information. So I think it's great for you to come up and be able to share that, and hopefully we can get some more, good clubs getting involved in esports up here as well, because I know they've all dipped their toes into it, but I don't think anyone's seen an actual blueprint to how they can do this now.
Yeah, I think, like I said, tomorrow, getting the chance to showcase what we do at Newcastle United Foundation, whether that be at any stage that people are accessing, or be they new on the journey or they're quite far along the line. That's what we're there for, is a bit of a sounding board for people. The one thing with this side of things is the investment that it takes to get something off the ground, and you wouldn't want to invest in something that didn't work. We were sort of lucky now that we can give advice and we can see
Probably
that
not
we've
just
learned
lucky,
lessons.
you've probably just done it right, you've probably gave it the care and attention. So I mean, you say lucky, but I think it's probably the credit to you and your team that you've managed to make it a success though.
Yeah, I think, like I say, we've got great people at the organisation who are quite passionate about what they do and to make a difference with it. It's also been really important to say that it's a learning curve. We're not the finished product by any stretch of the imagination, but we have got something what works. Quite holistic in our approach. We can change things. We've got the luxury of that. Like we said earlier, with traditional schools and education, they're bound by a curriculum. Yes, we've got esports units that we must deliver, but in terms of what we offer across the organisation, that can change and adapt as we see fit.
And do you think then, obviously there's tomorrow will be tomorrow, but this episode will hopefully live on when people maybe find this in the future, then do you think, what would be the tips you would give somebody? Do you think the education partner is really important? Would you say that was one of the...
I think the educational side of things is really important in terms of what it can offer. There's a different route. If you asked a lot of our participants though on the course what they want to get, it might be more the different jobs that it might open. They don't necessarily want to sit and play the games all the time. It might be that they want to go into streaming or shoutcasting or different areas like that. It might be they want to be more creative and try and explore them roles. We have got a lot of young people into apprenticeships with Sage, which is one of our partners.
Okay, yeah.
Again, they would never have considered going for a job at that organisation until we've given them experience of it and opened their eyes to what can become.
And do you think Sage as an employer like the skills that people get from esports then?
I think them young people, the links what we have with employers is also really important, and it's one of the benefits of our employability programs. We can open employers' eyes to what the job market's like and what participants are like. Just as we said with learners in schools, people are different now. An old school interview where you sit in front of a panel, some people may really struggle with that, and if we have a link with an employer where it's actually, you've got a bit of a rough diamond here, they've got all the skills and the assets, they might just not have that confidence. That's where we can start shaping the process.
It's quite old to think that you get nailed on just like sweating it out. Yeah, you're right. Listen, Gavin, all the best for tomorrow. Thank you so much for taking the trip up to Scotland, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us, much appreciated.
Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it.